Welcome in everyone. In today's video we're going over my top 5 assault rifles for Delta Force's Warfare mode. We'll be giving a quick rundown of each rifle's ups and downs, showing you guys the build I use and what it's good for, as well as tips on how to tweak the build to better suit your preferences. We'll also be including at least one rifle for each class in an attempt not to force anyone off their main characters. Without further ado, let's get into it. At number 5, we have the AKS. The AKS is a low rate of fire weapon that has decent damage and excels at short to medium ranges. The main selling point of this weapon is that it has the capability to 2-tap headshot, which only a handful of ARs can do. Coupling this with the fact that it can be built out relatively early, the AKS turns into a head-tapping machine that's still capable of putting people down in 4 body shots. The cherry on top is that the AKS is a starting weapon and can be used on all classes. The build that I prefer to use for the AKS gives it great recoil control while maintaining solid handling and accuracy. Feel free to switch the muzzle if you'd rather go loud for better stats, as well as the foregrip if you'd rather use something with more handling. The AKS has a low rate of fire, so feel free to trade some control for other stats as you see fit, as even at lower control numbers, the AKS still feels solid. Since the AKS lacks at a long range, I wouldn't recommend worrying too much about stability. As for calibration, I prefer mine calibrated for more recoil control. If you'd rather have a faster ADS speed and ADS movement, make sure you reset each calibration back to default. At number 4, we have the CAR 15. The CAR is a low rate of fire weapon that has good damage, is effective at all ranges, and is usable by every class. The CAR isn't capable of 2-tapping like the AKS, but it has an extremely low recoil to the point where you can easily take out enemies from over 70 meters away with a half-decent build. The damage isn't terrible on the weapon, allowing it to take down people in 4 body shots. However, you'll want to be aiming for headshots with this weapon, as the low recoil makes it extremely easy to do. It's also kind of a necessity to win against other better weapons in closer ranges. The build that I prefer to use for the CAR capitalizes on the weapon's already great recoil control to turn it into a long and medium distance laser that can still accurately hip fire for those sudden in-your-face engagements, all the while maintaining a good amount of handling for decent ADS speed. Once again, feel free to switch the muzzle and foregrip to match your preference. And just like the AKS, since the CAR has a low fire rate, it'll still be very controllable should you trade control for another stat. If you wanted to make this weapon even more of a long-range laser at the cost of some handling, you can swap out the barrel for the bipod compatible piece and become an absolute menace at long ranges once you found somewhere to deploy your bipod. And once again for calibration, I have mine calibrated for more recoil control at the cost of ADS speed and ADS movement speed. If that's not to your liking, simply reset each calibration back to default. At number 3, we have the AUG. The AUG is an engineer-exclusive rifle that has good rate of fire, decent damage, and is effective at all ranges. It's also capable of becoming a long-range laser like the CAR once it's fully built, except it's better for one specific reason: headshots. Now, the AUG only has 20 damage per shot, meaning it will take 5 body shots to bring someone down, but thanks to its much faster rate of fire than our previous entries, that isn't really much of an issue. What we're focused on is that for whatever reason, it has more than the normal 2x headshot multiplier, causing it to have 51 headshot damage. This means that just like the AKS, the AUG is in the exclusive 2-tap headshot AR group. Coupling this with accuracy on par with the CAR and a huge fire rate increase, we see why the AUG stands atop both previous entries. Just like the other entries, you really need to focus on landing headshots when using the AUG. Arguably, it's not as important as our last 2 weapons, as landing 5 body shots is still a pretty quick TTK, but it will dramatically reduce that TTK since you're going from 5 bullets to kill down just to 2. The build that I prefer to use on the AUG focuses on control and range, which allows us to capitalize on the 2-tap capability of this weapon from afar. We also take it a step further and use a bipod to make our medium and long range engagements almost pinpoint accurate. The low handling means that you might get outgunned at close range, but we have solid accuracy to counter that, and simply pray that we land those headshots while we spray. If you want more handling, feel free to change the barrel for a shorter variant, as well as adjusting the muzzle and foregrip to your preference as usual. Unlike our last entries, the AUG has a significantly faster fire rate and will need more control to feel usable, so keep that in mind as you adjust the weapon to your liking. For calibration, to no one's surprise, we have it calibrated for control, so if that's not to your liking, don't forget to reset it to default. At number 2, we have the M4A1. The M4 is a high fire rate weapon that has decent damage, is effective at short and medium ranges, and is exclusive to the Assault class. Clocking in at 800 RPM, the M4 boasts one of the highest fire rates in the AR group. This insane fire rate makes up for its shortcomings in damage, as it takes 5 body shots or 3 headshots to take down an opponent. This also allows you to get away with not needing to focus on aiming for headshots while using the M4, since the time to land 2 more body shots is pretty insignificant at 800 RPM. The build that I prefer to use for the M4 is more focused around close range fights. We use enough control to keep the weapon at a low recoil while focusing on having a higher handling to allow us to be snappier with our aiming. The downside of this is that we kind of lose the capability to take those long range fights since we haven't dumped all our stats into control and can't accurately spray bullets 100 meters downrange. But honestly, we have 3 other weapons in this video that can do that. as well as a plan B for those exact scenarios strapped to our waist. Since we're using the M4 for CQB, feel free to swap attachments around to trade control for other stats, as we don't need a ton of it when taking medium range fights. If you wanted to create a long range laser M4, make sure you trade out the barrel for the Gabriel long barrel for that extra range and muzzle velocity, as well as the M16 stock and cheek pad combo. Add a bipod if you really want to be excessive. For calibration, I have mine calibrated for recoil control once again, but not excessively calibrated as usual since we want to keep a decent ADS speed and ADS walking speed. As usual, if you don't like or trust it, reset it to default. At number 1, to no one's surprise, we have the CI-19, or CL-19, whichever letter it is. The CI-19 has it all: high fire rate, high damage, low recoil, and is good at all ranges. It feels amazing to use even when stock, and only gets better as you customize it. The only downside is that this weapon is exclusive to the Assault class. The CI-19 has 26 damage, meaning it only takes 4 body shots or 3 headshots to take down an opponent. I'd say you should focus on landing headshots with this weapon, but thanks to its base 700 RPM, the TTK for this weapon is very fast, headshots are not. The CI-19 is also currently the only weapon that has a customizable gas block, where you can equip one of 2 gas block attachments that drastically alters how this weapon works. The stabilizing gas block improves the CI-19's long range capability and overall stats by increasing muzzle velocity and effective range at the cost of about 40 RPM. Meanwhile, the high-speed gas block does the complete opposite and improves the weapon's RPM by roughly 60 at the cost of range, muzzle velocity, and other stats, turning it into a CQB monster. I actually have multiple builds for the CI-19 because it's just that good, but the one we're showing you guys for this video is an all-rounder. We use the stabilizing gas block and focus on further improving the weapon's recoil to make it pinpoint accurate, all the while maintaining a good amount of handling for decent ADS speed. We also have a lot of accuracy for any CQB engagements, enough to not have to worry about praying while you're spraying. Feel free to swap out the muzzle and foregrip to your liking as usual. For calibration, we don't need to fully commit to control since the weapon's recoil is already amazing, so we've spread it out a bit compared to our other builds. But as always, feel free to reset it to default if it's not to your liking. If you guys enjoyed the video or found it helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And feel free to let me know in the comments what you guys think of this list or how my weapon builds feel. Did I not include one of your favorite ARs in this list? Or am I a complete nuthead when it comes to making weapon builds? Good luck out there and happy hunting.